So I'm going to do a quick run through of what I do when my batteries are getting a bit low in the winter and the sun hasn't really done its job during the day. So as you can probably see out there, we get to the end of the day, sun's setting in the distance, or maybe has just about set, and this greyness up here hasn't really done much for charging the batteries up today. It's pretty much done nothing, to be fair. So I'm going to quickly run through my generator because I like this generator. So first off, looking at the app, as you can probably hopefully see there, we've got key figures. Average voltage there gives me so it's 3.25 volts, pretty much at rest, and I've got a handy crib sheet of paper there, so that says we're about 40% of power. And also on here we can see the minimum voltage is set at 3.2 volts. So 3.2 is really the lowest I like to go. You can see it's occasionally dipping below that. First off, here's my generator in its little cover. Let's wake it up here so it's a bit easier to see it. So this generator, it's a Max Peding rods. That's the correct way of saying it. So this is my generator, various bits I've added to it. So Max Peding rods, inverter generator. So this supplies, you can see on that end I've got two 3-pin sockets there, and that will give me my power for a bit. I forget what this generator is actually rated to, but it supplies a decent amount of power anyway. And I've had this generator now for, well, I'm just coming up to the end of my second winter using it. I've had it for, let's see, probably 18, 19, 20 months, something like that, all up. And it's not really skipped a beat, ever. It's perfectly good. So I'll show you as I quickly get it up and running, which is quick and easy. Just before I do though, so you can see I've got this this sort of bit of thermowrap. It's not blocking anything. I've just got it on the top. It's sort of connected to the top handle, and a couple of bits of scrap thermowrap there. It's purely acting as a hat or as an umbrella on the generator, so if there's a little bit of drizzle or something like that, then the generator isn't going to get wet, not excessively. So there's you can see I've got like a little bit of a hood sticking out there. You'll see where I put it up in a moment. It's a fairly sheltered point on the boat, but it's just that extra little bit. If it was properly raining I wouldn't be putting it out there, but that just keeps the dampness off the top pretty much. And then I've got these two bits of elasticated line on here, and they're basically to attach the generator to a couple of points on the boat so that it doesn't, under use, you know, the vibrations don't make it try and move and drop off the edge of the deck. So and I'll show you fitting that up as well in a moment. That's a fairly heavy lump. So that's where I put that. Got a bit of a rain shelter from the solar panels on the edge of the roof. The prevailing weather usually comes that way, so part of it's sheltered and protected anyway there. Now, these lines is just so that it doesn't vibrate and move off the deck surface, which it could try and do. It's slightly sloped. So that's one line up there, and then this one is sort of a stabilising line off the side, so that it can't vibrate and move itself this way and then beat off and try and move. So that's that attached and in place. So you can see on here, I've got my little hood on here, so the fuel tank is in there. There we go, so fuel tank's in there. That's got a little switch thing on it, so it's currently switched around to off. So flick that round to on. Underneath that cap is like a little filter, but basically you shove fuel in there. Takes about 4.5 litres, something like that, to fill it up. I only filled it up and ran it for about half an hour last night, so so that's got plenty for the moment. Down on the front here, we've got two 3-pin sockets. We've got a bunch of stuff which is irrelevant to my use down there. We've got a reset button. I've never needed to reset that. We've got here an eco switch, so what that does is I've got it on, so basically it'll only run the generator at the level that it needs to for the drawer on it, and a couple of indicator lights. So getting this thing going, I just simply turn that from the off position round to the choke point, start there, make sure my fuel's on, and then give the handle a quick pull, and even after all the use it's had so far, it still starts on the first pull. Never takes more than the second pull to get it going. So that's up and tootling nicely, warming itself up. While it's starting, if you can hear me over the little chunk it's got, this is a little adapter, so I can connect, stick that onto the shore power socket there. That's that, and then run that up to normal running level. We get the green light saying it's running enough to do its job, and then plug it in. Where's it going? There we go. So that's plugged in and running. Right, back inside the boat again. The generator is running just outside there. Sometimes I quickly pull my insulation down, I can see the generator out through the window, so I know if it's vibrated and tried to move or anything like that. It doesn't under most circumstances. It's only if I'm running the cooker on it, the hot plate, because that's got a thermostat on it, so it'll be drawing power and then it'll suddenly stop drawing power, and that sort of jolt and change of speed on the generator, that'll sometimes make it jump a little bit as it changes revs. So as it's running at the moment, that is automatically, or it's set up at the moment so that the charger for the engine batteries is always on. Basically, it's always active when the generator's running and providing input power. The generator is sending power in. There's a master cut-off switch at the back of the boat, which allows that power into the boat. As it's set up at the moment, because it's not fully off-grid yet in terms of how the boat itself is set up, I only get power in my actual proper built-in sockets like that I only get power from that shore power input at the moment, and that's going to be another task to set it up so that the inverter is supplying the power to all of that stuff. But I need to trace all the wires and everything on that, so it's whilst supplying a fresh input would be fairly quick, it's a long job actually tracing all the wires and everything to achieve that. So you might have heard a little bit of a tone just then. You look at the panel on the front of my charge inverter, the solar panel icon there is now flashing. That's because the light has dropped to a point where there is absolutely nothing coming in via the panels now, so it's just blinked and told me that. I've got power coming from the generator, which is now powering the sockets and charging the main boat batteries, so there's always a bit of a trickle going into them as I go. Now, to actually get the solar, like my LiFePO4 batteries going and charging off of the charge controller, I've actually got it rigged up at the minute, so I've got a cable here supplying the input, and that's plugged into the socket there. So if I plug that in, it now tells me on the panel here I've got 239 volts coming in, and you might have just heard a slight increase, it's still climbing slightly, an increase in the revs of the generator. So the charge controller unit is now drawing a decent amount of power because it's working. Its fan is now fired up, so you might be able to hear that in the background as well. And if I jump to my fancy app, we can now see on here where my thumb is in the middle there, you might be able to see it's pulling 29.2 amps of jumped up to 36.6, so that varies a little bit on the controller. It's just over the 40 now, so I have seen it go up as high as 50 amps, but it moves around. It's up to the BMS essentially as to how much charge makes it through into the batteries, and this app is measuring what the BMS thinks. So that's now charging away. I expect it'll be a couple of hours time, and then I'll have enough power for the rest of today and well into tomorrow as well. Largely it depends on how much time I spend running the heater. And now I've got power going into the batteries, I might put the heater on because it is still January and it is still a bit chilly here. Yeah, I might put the heater on. I haven't had the heater on all day because I've been busy, and it's not excessively cold. This week the canal hasn't even frozen over, so it can't be that bad. So that's my generator. I would definitely recommend that particular generator if anyone needed to get one. It does a blooming good job. So I had a check over of it a couple of months ago, maybe November. Yeah, it was about November time when I started to need it again. That was when I wasn't getting enough from the sun on the panels to run for the day. And that coincided largely with starting to put the heating on every now and then. So yeah, the generator came into use back in November. I gave it a quick look over service. The glow plug was still I say glow plug, it's not glow plug, it's a spark plug on these because it's a petrol generator. So the spark plug was clean and fine, no issues there. The oil in it, I checked the oil, the level was perfectly fine, and it hadn't even discoloured yet, so I left that in, so I haven't bothered to change the oil. I will probably change the oil at some point this summer, just because it'll have done me 2 winters. And I suppose the average use over that is maybe about, I suppose the average use is probably in the region of 2 hours a day, roughly. Mostly I'm putting it on every other day for like 4 hours, something like that. And yeah, that's running from November through to probably early March will be when I stop needing it. Its usage will have reduced down by then as well. So I'll, you know, if last year's anything to go by anyway. So yeah, once it's done its season of use, then I'll give it a proper oil change and maybe treat it to a new spark plug, although the previous one, or the existing one, was still perfectly fine, so maybe I won't worry about that. Maybe I'll just get one as a spare for just in case. But yeah, that's my generator. Strongly recommend it. No, I don't get any sort of kickbacks from that. It's just, that's the one I use. It's the only generator I've ever had, and it's yeah, it's doing a good job.